This is CBC Vancouver News.
Now they're giving that break to the liquor. Why not the cannabis as well?
Providing relief during the holidays. Why some BC businesses are upset they've been left out of the federal government's GST tax break. And
there are available spaces in the suburbs far out, but if you live in the city of Vancouver, it's sometimes an hour-long bus ride.
an annual event is shining a spotlight on the urgent need for more sheltered skateboard parks in Vancouver, but the park board says building more facilities comes with its challenges. Also,
so happy that we have this platform in Community at Indigenous Fashion Week to teach the next generation.
We meet some of the young creatives part of Vancouver's Indigenous Fashion Week. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. A man has been charged with second-degree murder after a young woman was found dead inside a home this weekend. Police say they were called to a house in Vancouver's Renfrew-Collingwood neighborhood around midnight Saturday. When they arrived, they found 26-year-old Roshni Gurung dead, and a second victim, a 27-year-old man, was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Now, a 46-year-old man has been charged with second-degree murder and aggravated assault. He remains in police custody. 4 people have been arrested after a man was stabbed in a liquor store in Olympic Village last night. Police say the attack happened around 10:30 when a security guard was trying to stop a shoplifter from leaving the store. A 63-year-old who was passing by intervened to help stop the alleged shoplifter, who ended up stabbing the man before fleeing. Vancouver police say the victim's injuries were severe. The 21-year-old suspect, along with 3 alleged accomplices, were arrested in downtown Vancouver shortly after midnight. All 4 people have been released on bail. This week, the federal government announced it will temporarily slash GST on some goods this winter as part of a plan to provide some tax relief over the holidays. As Michelle Gomez reports, it's an early Christmas gift for consumers and some small businesses, while others are expressing disappointment.
From December 14th until February 15th, Canadians won't have to pay GST on certain goods, including children's toys and books.
The families who are struggling, this is going to have a huge impact for those families when they don't have to pay GST. Give them an opportunity so that their kids can have a Christmas gift.
It also includes restaurant meals, some types of alcohol, and Christmas trees.
Talking about this one.
Oh, okay.
Of course it'll help a bit. I think every time some costs come down for folks right now, it'll be a benefit. So yeah, why not, right? It's a little Christmas gift that might help a bit.
As a consumer, if I go to a restaurant, I pay less. We pay less for our stuff. People who come here pay less, so it's better.
But it's not the Christmas present everyone was hoping for.
No, it won't make any difference to me financially. I don't think it'll make any difference to anybody.
I think it's great for a lot of families. They'll appreciate it, but then also because it's creating more of a deficit, I think conflicted feelings.
And one local industry feels left out of the tax break.
When the pandemic hit, they said essential services, that cannabis and liquor can stay open. Now they're giving that break to the liquor. Why not the cannabis as well?
I think going down a rabbit hole on, why this and why not that, when it comes to groceries and toys, are probably the most important things.
And BC consumers are not going to be saving quite as much as those in some other provinces. BC, along with 8 other provinces and territories that have separate provincial and federal taxes, will save 5% GST. But other provinces that have a blended provincial and federal tax will save 13 or even 15%. Though the BC PST could take a holiday as well.
I believe those discussions have started, and yes, I hope that the province follows suit and matches this as well.
The province said in a statement that some of the goods covered by the tax exemption are already exempt from the provincial sales tax, including groceries, restaurant meals, children's clothing and footwear, and Christmas trees. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Some Mounties in BC will be wearing body cameras starting today. The RCMP says 300 cameras will be issued to officers in Mission, Tofino, Ucluelet, Cranbrook, Kamloops, and Fort St. John. They say calls for body-worn cameras came from local, Indigenous, and provincial leaders to address the overall need to enhance public trust in policing. Over the next year and a half, more than 3,000 Mounties across the province will be fitted with the devices. Some Indigenous leaders are welcoming the news, saying it's a positive step in the right direction. The local skate community had a chance to enjoy the sport today without worrying about the wet weather outside. It's all part of the All Aboard Skateboarding celebration, an annual event demonstrating the need for accessible, dry, and well-lit skateboard facilities during the winter months. As Sarab Sandhu reports, some of the events say there is an urgent need for safer skateboarding spaces in the city.
Are you guys ready?
Sam Shone and her team are desperately trying to keep rainwater out of this temporary tent structure.
I'm gonna push on the roof and they're gonna hold that there to try and divert the water that way.
But despite their efforts, water continues to gush in from the bottom. Shone grabs her broom while someone else tries drying the wet spots with a blowtorch.
Hopefully it doesn't rain anymore today.
Inside the structure, dozens of young kids are testing their skateboarding skills as part of the annual All Aboard Skateboarding celebration.
In the past, we've had our event in a parkade, which is, it's closed, it's tight, there's not a lot of airflow. It really just feels like you're locked away. But we wanted to be out, we want to be visible, breathing fresh air, and just try something new to see what's possible.
Friesen says the decision to hold this year's event inside a temporary tent was due to lack of indoor skateboarding spaces.
There are available spaces in the suburbs far out, but if you live in the city of Vancouver, it's sometimes an hour-long bus ride to go out to Tsawwassen.
The city only has one fully rain-sheltered skateboarding facility at the Leaside Skate Park in East Vancouver, and two partially sheltered spaces at Cooper's Park near Falls Creek and here at the Downtown Plaza Skateboard Park. But some say in a rainy city, that's not enough.
It does protect the SkyTrain only when it's small rain, but it only protects some part of it and not enough for you to be able to skate a bunch because it gets slippery.
In Vancouver, there's zero space to skate when it's raining.
In 2022, the Vancouver Park Board approved a 20-year roadmap for improving the city's skate amenities, including new builds and upgrades to existing facilities. The board says it acknowledges a lack of rain-sheltered spaces, but adds there are a number of challenges to consider, including encampments and rising construction costs. Organizers say they are encouraged to see new parks being built, but would like to see them built with unpredictable weather in mind, a major barrier for the sport in the city. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
An Okanagan farrier is heartbroken after specialized tools she uses for her job allegedly went missing from her truck. Tools that are needed to care for horses' hooves. Erin McQueen has been in the business for about 30 years. Not only has the theft left her scrambling to do her work, but she says the tools also have significant sentimental value.
The nostalgic value of a few of those tools. My mentor when I went to school is Hank McEwen. And he's in the Horseshoeing Hall of Fame. That's kind of a thing within our trade. And he passed away in 2015, but I had the privilege of working with him and apprenticing with him, and he made a lot of those for me.
She believes her tools were stolen from her truck near downtown Kelowna earlier this week. McQueen has filed a police report, so anyone with information can call Kelowna RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Staying in the Okanagan, where a group of volunteers say they've helped clear more than 136,000 kilograms of garbage out of the forest this year. And a big part of that cleanup could have roots in the affordability crisis.
We've pulled out numerous vehicles, truck campers, travel trailers that have all been dumped, hundreds of pounds of used diapers, all kinds of scrap metal and just garbage in general.
Blake says social issues and the skyrocketing cost of living may be part of the problem. The Regional District of Okanagan, Similkameen, says coordinating cleanup efforts is difficult because of multi-jurisdictional authority, and the key to preventing illegal dumping is education. Adding community groups like the Okanagan Forest Task Force help fill that gap. With the aim of improving healthcare in rural communities, a UBC researcher is creating a high-tech approach that will allow ultrasound procedures to be done remotely. Our Michelle Morton has more.
We created a tele-ultrasound system, which means that we can actually control an ultrasound exam remotely. The patient would be in a small town or an ambulance somewhere, and we can actually bring them expert healthcare without an expert having to travel or the patient having to travel.
David Black says anyone, such as the patient or a family member, would do the scan while being guided by an expert remotely.
We're using relatively low-cost point-of-care ultrasound probes, and the only thing we're really adding to that is a mixed reality headset.
He says the system has already been tested in several BC communities.
The ones that we're working with most closely is Skateboard on the islands of Haida. And we actually brought the system there this summer and scanned 11 patients with the patient in Skateboard and the expert sitting right here at UBC in Vancouver. It's about 750 kilometers away. And we successfully did 11 ultrasound scans.
BC Rural Health Network Executive Director Paul Adams welcomes the diagnostic technology.
Most of our challenges are around travel. They're around distance to care. They're around out-of-pocket costs and expense in reaching that care.
But he points out there are some barriers.
Communities without cell phone service and internet, again, is a challenge in the bandwidth that communities have.
Black says the technology is a work in progress.
I think everyone agrees that it has great potential to really help.
Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Vancouver's Indigenous Fashion Week wrapped up this weekend. For many young creatives, it was a chance to celebrate fashion, identity, and heritage. The CBC's Santana Drever went backstage to speak with some of the models about what inspires them to walk the runway.
Come along to the 5th edition of Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week.
I think it's important for the rest of the city to see the powerful women standing up and just taking the stage and standing in their power. I think it's pretty overwhelming in a really beautiful way.
I started modeling when I was 12 years old. Unfortunately, during that time, I had no Indigenous models to look up to, so I really made my way throughout, and I'm so happy that we have this platform in Community Indigenous Fashion Week to teach the next generation, including sharing all Indigenous fashion designers throughout Turtle Island. We were the first fashion designers, literally, our women's scalp, they did the fur trade, our attention to detail with beadwork and bone work. I'm so happy to see it and it to be amplified throughout Turtle Island today. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be here.
This is actually really nostalgic for me because last time I modeled, or the first time I modeled for Pam Baker was 30 years ago. So I'm really excited to be here and dust off the retirement shoes.
I originally started to get my daughter into modeling because she wanted to model. I'm an actual bodybuilder, so I do the stage and competing. Fashion and bodybuilding are very different, but I really enjoy it. You get to meet people, so many incredible people, and make that connection, that heartfelt connection. Feels like reborn spirits or new friendships, and what better place to do it than at Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week.
I can honestly say I've never worked on a fashion week that felt like Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It's really beautiful.
It is a dream come true. I've been wanting to do this since I was young, and just doing the hair and seeing it and then seeing it all together and then watching the fashion show. Happy tears. It's amazing. I love it. Seeing everybody's work all come together, the whole community and different nations from all over. It's a different kind of feeling. The vibes is something else. It's amazing. I love it.
Still ahead, Canadian seniors say they're feeling abandoned by the Liberal government's latest inflation relief measure after learning many won't qualify for it. That's next. Stay with us. Some Canadian seniors are angry and upset that they're being left out of the federal government's plan to mail out $250 checks early next year. They say they need that help too. As JP Tasker reports, the checks will only go to people who worked last year, and that excludes a lot of people like retirees and those receiving social assistance.
Hannah Von Beacom says she's furious retirees are being left out of the federal government's inflation rebate.
Mr. Trudeau, we have worked many years. We paid our taxes. Please do not forget about us because we contributed to the growth of Canada.
Like many Canadians, she is feeling the pinch from higher prices and says it's not fair that she doesn't qualify for the $250 checks the Liberals plan to hand out next spring.
If he wants to buy votes, fine, but include all of us.
The checks will only go to people who worked in 2023 and earned $150,000 or less, more than 18 million people. That means most seniors won't qualify.
I feel forgotten, left out, and I'm unimportant. And I don't want to feel like that.
We're sort of stuck at a fixed income level and falling behind.
It's just totally unfair.
The Prime Minister is pitching the program as a way to put money in the pockets of people who haven't had much help from Ottawa lately.
Over the past number of years, we have been extraordinarily present in helping the most vulnerable Canadians.
Many seniors recently got free dental care. Some families with young kids reduced childcare fees. Justin Trudeau says it's time other Canadians got something from their federal government.
I do regularly hear from working Canadians who are having trouble making ends meet, but saying, look, I don't have kids, I'm not a senior yet, and I'm facing challenges.
It seems like a really desperate political stunt.
This seniors advocate says some pensions haven't kept pace with inflation. He says Ottawa should instead give a 10% boost to old age security payouts.
It would be about $70 a month on an ongoing basis. It doesn't do a lot, but at least it helps try to keep up with the cost of living.
And seniors aren't alone. There have been complaints about the government's planned tax holiday on GST too. Some business owners frustrated with the amount of work it'll take to implement, and some premiers in provinces that have a harmonized sales tax concerned about income they could lose from it. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
To Winnipeg now, a man has been shot and killed by police after he stabbed an officer earlier tonight.
We are aware of videos online, and we caution the public that they do not show the entire incident. I've said this before, and I'll say this again. Our members do not come to work to take a life. They come to work to serve and protect the community.
It happened in a parking lot at Winnipeg's Uni City Mall. Police say plainclothes officers with a retail theft unit interacted with a man at a bus shelter. The man stabbed an officer in the throat. Then police opened fire. The officer is in stable condition. An investigation into the incident is underway. Here we have a live shot of Burrard Inlet facing the North Shore tonight. I'll have your full forecast coming up next. Graduate students at the University of British Columbia are blowing off steam by smashing some glass. The therapy workshop is being offered to help students relieve stress during exams. Take a look.
I've been doing glass blowing since I was 13. Destructive therapy is something that's been part of my life forever.
It's a weird mix between school and work. I think stress relief is kind of self-explanatory for grad students. We have a lot of responsibilities with our research.
As you go through your schooling and maybe your career, you get better at managing stress. Recognize that you have it and do something about it. Maybe smash some glass.
Anybody else want to throw another one?
No judgment. Let things loose a little bit.
If you make something and it didn't work out, you make it disappear.
In academia, there is a lot of heightened anxiety and stress about performance, and it can be really cutthroat.
If you know any grad students in your life, ask them what their daily life is like and get them to talk about mental health, what they're doing in their work.
I've returned glassware back into the lab 80 to 90%. They've broken one piece, but I can repair that one piece and go back into service.
Just an example of something that is really fun and interesting.
There's a lot of stuff in Vancouver we want to enjoy, outdoors especially, but that is also, there's a barrier, there's a cost to entry for a lot of people, especially international students who are not eligible for a lot of scholarships. It's pretty tough.
I think that that really helps with mental health, to just find something that excites you and just engage with it.
They all run into the same issues. The exams come up. Managing your stress is important. Being aware that you are stressed, admit it, and step forward and try to do something about it.
All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast for the week ahead. Let's begin with current temperatures around the province tonight. Pretty cold up in Dease Lake and Fort St. John with a minus 25 and minus 26. Prince George is also quite chilly tonight with a minus 18 and snow in both Cranbrook and Kelowna. And on the island, pretty rainy in Victoria with a low of 5 overnight. Drying up in areas like Fort St. John tomorrow with a minus 17 and sun and clouds. Snow flurries in Williams Lake with a minus 9 for tomorrow. Much more snow activity in places like Kelowna with a high of 3 for tomorrow. And on the island, Victoria, rainy with a high of 7. Sun and clouds in Tofino with a high of 9. And here in Metro Vancouver, that scattered showers is going to stick around for tomorrow with a high of 7. But it looks like it will dry up for Tuesday with a mix of sun and clouds and a high of 6. Passengers on board a ferry in Falls Creek were treated to an incredible moment today.
All stations, all stations, all stations. There are approximately 4 orca whales between bridges. Everybody's shifting to neutral.
Yep, they got a close view of a pod of orcas as the whales passed by mere meters from the boat. That is so cool. That is your late news for Sunday, November 24th. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. To keep up to date with all the latest news, you can head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Hope you have a great week.